coming in. So recording is in progress. So welcome everyone, and we apologize for the technical glitch we had about 6 minutes late to start. Everyone who just dialed in, a very warm welcome. To let you know, this session will be recorded and the recording link will be sent to the participants later on after the session. So if anyone has got any questions, you can type them in the question and answer box. And in the meantime, you can even type in the chat from where you're dialing in, and also maybe your name. That would be nice to see as well. And with no further ado, I guess we give a start already, because we are already about 6 minutes in, and we are thrilled to host this webinar today in partnership with FITT, Forum for International Trade Training. We are long-term partners as Organization Women International Trade, and we've got the honor to organize this panel all together with our trade experts. A bit about me. My name is Hulya Kurt. I'm the International President of Organization Women International Trade, and a quick overview about what we do as an organization, which is a non-profit one. It is a global membership organization for women and men working in all facets of international trade, designed to promote the advancements of women in trade and in business. It is one of many business support organizations globally that supports as well and facilitate opportunities for women in trade itself. So we act really as a springboard for many women-owned businesses, because we facilitate that vital access to international networks and markets. As a global organization, we are a connector, a collaborator, and we collaborate with FITT, for example, NASBA, and any big organizations like WTO, ITC, and many others. By the way, I'm based in Geneva, so I'm in the hub of all the United Nations and the big organizations here who have got a say as well. With our strategic partners, we are in a unique position as we bring the voices, and that's one of the pillars, the voices of women, on the table and to be heard, and bring them into global conversations. We have chapters all around the world. It was founded in Washington in 1989, and since then, the footprint expanded exponentially in each of the regions and continents, mainly in Africa. At the moment, we're talking about 27 chapters, mainly US, United States, Canada, Latin America, Africa, but also Europe, Geneva, Brussels, UK, and last but not least, we are continuing to expand. So with no further ado, after that, I would like to introduce you to our two wonderful, powerful women, panelists, experts in the field of global trade. Caroline Tompkins is the president of CEO. Hello, Caroline. Nice to have you here. Of the Forum for International Trade Training, a non-profit organization focused on training and certification, which is important, of global business professionals. Caroline has been with the organization since 1996. She's a certified international trade professional, a CITP, and a certified association executive. She is steadfast in her commitment to helping individuals and the companies they serve in being successful in global markets by creating and recognizing international trade experts. Caroline combines a solid understanding of training with an acute business sense, and was recognized as a notable Canadian woman in Chatelain's Who's Who of Canadian Women, and is listed in Canadian's Who publications. In 1999, Caroline was a recipient of the Peter Bentley Scholarship for the University of British Columbia's residential program for executive development, and has since fulfilled the rigorous requirements for the Certified Association Executive, CAE, and the Certified International Trade Professional designations. In 2012, Caroline was presented with the Queen Elizabeth XI Diamond Jubilee Medal. Wow, Caroline, what a wonderful bio and so many successes. We are thrilled to hear from you, honestly. And last but not least, we've got as well in our panel, Pernille Fischer. She's the founder and CEO of Kisserup International Trade Routes Canada Inc., Kisserup Europe, and Kisserup Arctic. She has worked on projects in over 90 countries, on 6 continents, and in 25 sectors. She's frequently written as a keynote speaker on international trade, investment, and entrepreneurship by both private and public sectors, and is an internationally recognized subject matter expert on SME development and UN SDGs. Pernille has been nominated and won several awards, including being named as one of the top 25 of influence in Canada by Women of Influence. Congratulations. Pernille is a certified international trade professional, CITP. She holds a certificate in leadership and innovation from INSEAD, France, a certificate in project management from St. Mary's University, and a Master of Business from the Copenhagen School of Business. So I'm really thrilled and looking forward to hear from you. Welcome to you both. And with no further ado, I will be handing over already to Caroline to provide your FITT introduction. So Caroline, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Hulya. It's just wonderful to see you again, and it's such a pleasure to be here with you, with Pernille and our audience and the OWIT and FITT communities from people from around the world. It's just wonderful. Our two organizations are unique, yet we do share a common goal of supporting open, fair, and inclusive international trade system. We both bring our own and distinct approach to this goal and to those we serve. And to share with everyone FITT's approach to supporting companies in their global business journeys, I'm hoping, I know we've had some technical difficulties, but we thought we'd share a video today instead of having me talking head. But if the technology doesn't work, I will come back. Laura,
Caroline,
are we ready?
the technology is not in my favor today. But we will send the video link in a follow-up email so everyone can watch that.
No worries, Laura, no worries. So FITT's purpose is to advance the profession of international business. And we do this by creating training resources, whether they're comprehensive courses or short insights like this webinar. And we do this by recognizing global business experts like Pernille through our Certified International Trade Professional designation, the FITT CITP. The CITP is the world's first professional designation designed specifically to recognize high performers in international business. To create our training and our certification programs, FITT brings together hundreds of international trade subject matter experts like Pernille, who are in the business of importing and exporting. We bring them together so that they will delve deeply into how they succeeded, what mistakes did they make, what did they learn, and then we take that, we then curate their collective knowledge, their collective experience to create a hands-on practical training program designed by business for business, which we then share with others to help them in their international growth journeys. So the frontier of international business knowledge really needs to be continued to be advanced because it's always changing. And you can't really do that unless there's an organization like FITT that is dedicated to advancing that knowledge and helping and serving others by teaching them how trade works. So global ambitions need global skills, and that is what you'll get from FITT. We are all about building the capacity, the skills and knowledge your team needs to make sure your export journey is primed for success. We are dedicated to fostering a community of collaboration, of growth, and of learning to support all companies and their employees in their international business journeys. So Pernille will share with us some practical insights and key strategies about international business expansion today. And she'll share some common pitfalls many organizations encounter. However, know that in this short time we are only touching on the surface of what one needs to know. So I really do encourage everyone who hasn't done so already to delve deep into the training offerings provided by FITT. There are a lot of opportunities in expanding into global markets, and we can help you to ensure your journey is poised for success by developing your skills and your knowledge. Because in the end, it really doesn't matter how great a product you have, how great a service you offer, Without trade-capable people on your team, your global expansion is going to be far riskier than it needs to be. So Pernille, it's an honor to share the stage with you. I admire you so much. I learned so much from you, and the stage is now yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to both of you for the wonderful introduction. I have two women who I look up to immensely on this call today. So if I'm a little bit overwhelmed, it's because my great mentors are here. To all of you participating, Carolyn said the world's first trade certification. It is also the world's best trade certification. I'm sharing with you my experience of FITT. I'm sharing with you my experience with the impact it had globally in over those 90 countries where we worked, many of which we have provided FITT training, FITT advice, FITT templates. So that's the purpose of the 30 minutes I'm going to try and do this in today. You will get a copy of the PowerPoint afterwards. In the end of the course, we'll talk about the modules that makes up the trade certification. So if you are a product manufacturer and you are not looking for the full certification, you can take modules that are applicable to you. I advocate the certification. It's the most sought one when I come out in the world. But we'll go through that in the end, so you will see that too. So while it's quick today, it hopefully given you a little bit of an idea. I am now hopefully going to share my screen. The whole world had technical issues today, I think. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Perfect.
I think we're
there. I'm going to go from beginning. There, all good?
all good.
And you can hear me clear too?
Perfect.
Excellent. So we're in the office. I have a sign saying do not disturb. We may have people come in anyway. Don't worry about it. I'll try to do it as most efficient as possible here. So OWIT is an important partner in this too, because we all need to belong somewhere as a trade association, as a member in something. And OWIT is the conduit for a lot of this training where FITT shines by having partnerships. So membership and membership, belonging to a membership-based organization that provides value-added training like FITT has been key to my success and around the world. So I'd like to put a flag in there for OWIT too. It wouldn't be FITT if I didn't just put a plug in here for this is a presentation of high value that's brought to you. It's under copyright, as is all the FITT material, because it is the most unique in the world out there today. So I need to say a little bit about the IP of this, but you all know that, the international practitioners, and I know we have people from across the world. So welcome to you all. We do have 15 minutes set aside in the end for Q&A. So if you have questions, please submit them. If we can't do them in the 15 minutes, we will do them in follow-up afterwards. So please submit what you have. So when I'm talking to you about FITT today, I am talking about having delivered FITT courses in. We trained the Nigerian export zone managers, the NEPSA managers. We trained people in Greenland. We trained people in Indonesia. And of course, in some of these countries, not in English or French. So it's also the FITT material, the FITT course training is so adaptable to other languages and other legislations and other regulatory agencies. So if any of you, I think there's a number of practitioners on this call here. If you're out there and you're thinking about maybe delivering some of this or becoming a partner, there's an opportunity there too. The world is open. The world is open for FITT. The world is open for you. And the world is open for export. So the most frequent question I get on export is when people say to me, when is it an export? And it is an export if the money that you are getting from a product or service is coming from outside the country that you reside in. So you might be on this call from another country than Canada, of course, and exporting is the same qualification anywhere. You are receiving money from a client, a customer, outside the country you reside in, that is qualified as an export. There's indirect export where you're selling to someone where they are then selling, reselling your product or your service or integrating it. We'll talk about that in a minute. But basically, when we sell a service or a product and we receive foreign money, we enable our communities, our environments in which we live to take that money and turn it around to do all the things that we want to do with roads and schools and education and healthcare. So export is supported by governments around the world. So the next question we get is, where's the demand? Where will my customers be? How do I get there? And is it worth it? Well, export is supposedly the most competitive thing you can do if you want to compete internationally and even nationally. It is said by Statistics Canada that the best thing you can do for your business to become competitive is to export, because you learn about all those consumers that have different demands. You learn about your competitors, and you learn how you have to navigate the regulatory systems, the voluntary requirements. And in the end of the day, as it says here, you're probably looking at a profit, at least down the line. I'm not going to discourage anyone who have said, we want to enter a new market and give it a couple of years before it's fully profitable, because that's a market entry strategy too. We're talking a little bit about the different strategies, and this is so well done in the training materials for FITT. It's a beautiful ebook. I don't love ebooks, but I like this ebook. I like the templates. And when we're talking about export, we're talking about these different trading strategies. Are you trading directly with someone? Are you indirectly trading? Are you licensing your products, your services, your training to somebody else? I don't speak Arabic, so maybe I am licensing some of our material for somebody else who delivers it. Like all kinds of different ways in production to license a franchise. And then there's what we call FDI strategies, foreign direct investment strategies, and they can be inward or outward. So all this is templated in the training materials. And if you are a practitioner, sorry, I speak 5 languages and none of them fluent. If you are a practitioner, you might find yourself diving into any of these. And I've seen this so many times that companies has built the whole business plan and their business venture on these templates. So there are really, really nice tools that are supported in here. And if you are going for the certification, of course, it can be hard to sit through all the product manufacturing. If you're a service provider and you're learning about freight and logistics and other things, you're thinking, why do I have to learn this? Because it's part of the global supply chain, but it's all very tangible in the book. When we talk about the upside, so we're getting to be more competitive, we're making money, we're doing all this, we also have to talk about the potential downside. And the downside is the risk. The upside of the risk is that 95% of what you need to know is at your fingertips, either with training and learning how to assess risk, or by the information that is out there and freely available. And this, of course, increases with the access we have around the world with AI, with artificial intelligence. So we're talking about the risk, and we are formulating some of those. And what we try to do here is to look at what are the main questions we will get from exporters globally. So we took some tools and we added them to this PowerPoint. And there are 2 pages here of those. So those are hyperlinked. And you will see this, those are clickable when you get the PDF after the course here. And those are very good tools. So first one is determine if things are viable, you look at, is there a trade tariff on my product? So what is my HS code, and is there a tariff on that? There's lots of tools. These are just examples of existing tools where you can find a product. You can find, you're doing foam globes. You're looking at the foam globes to see if there's a tariff on them. What's the material? I'm making it in Canada. I'm selling it to Papua New Guinea. What are the regulatory requirements? Are there any tariffs on it? All of this is available. Now you have to interpret it once you get it and validate it, but that's part of the risk assessment. That's part of minimizing your risk and returning your investment, increasing the return on your investment. The same goes for the other links here. Research, validated research. Wikipedia is not research. Wikipedia is a place to start. But anybody can go in and edit Wikipedia, right? So it's a perfect place to get inspiration. But when you are looking at trade flows to see who your competitor might be when you export to Portugal, you want to have official trade data. And here's an example on Statista on how to get that. Some of these sources, all these sources that we have in here are free of charge. This is, again, a lot of what FITT does. It provides tools that are free and accessible. They may not, you may have to pay to enter a fuller version on some of those, but that's the price of data today. We're talking about Incoterms, which are sort of the rules of the road. A set of terms we'll talk about in a minute a little bit more, but instigated by the International Chambers of Commerce, and a set of rules that everybody interprets the same way. There's not many of those in this world, but Incoterms is one of them. We talk about how to adapt products and services. If I was delivering this course in Latin America, I might deliver in Spanish or Portuguese. So it's not just because you're a product manufacturer that you have to adapt something. There's some tips and tools here for some very successful women businesses. And we talk about trade financing because that's really important. How do we get paid? Should we deliver all of this? How do we get paid? And how do we make sure that the money lands in our account? Or if we're importer, which some of you are, how do we pay our customers on the right accounts? And it's not all PayPal and Visa cards, right? So we have some ways here, give you some tools on how you can easily identify your financial institution and getting paid. Critical part of this. We also talk a little bit more about the adaptation here, where we're talking about some of the stories from the top 10 ways that culture can affect trade. And believe me, I'm a cultural expert. I see culture as probably 80% of the things that when trade doesn't happen, if the product is right and the price is right, the culture isn't right. So very important to be aware of that. We talk a little bit about why we should export, and the knee-jerk reaction is because we want to make more money. We have a big production. We can't sell it all. We can sell it all at home and more. Economies to scale, all of this. But a lot of factors today, because we have so much global access, is our kids going to university in Spain. You saw somebody from a cruise ship who said, we can really use this in our country. Somebody wrote you from Sweden and said, we really want this. So there are so many motivational factors. And you know what? Export is not hard. Export is not hard. It's just a question of finding the methodology that increases your chances of entering the right market at the right price and getting paid. And all those tools are here. So even being able to assess a market and say, it's not a market for me, even though I might be motivated for it, that's a tool too, right? And all that comes from so many places in this world. FITT was one of the first organizations I got to know when I moved to Canada. But this can be board members. It can be somebody who's on the coach from your daughter's soccer team. It can be somebody in financial departments. And very often it's somebody who is very unlike ourselves. somebody who speaks a different language. I think the Magna story in Ontario was that some of their exponential growth was somebody who spoke Mandarin in the assembly shop who helped negotiate a deal. It may be an anecdote, but it's a beautiful anecdote if it is. Lots of motivators, and it's on you to try and find out who can help you reach those goals. And there's no shortage of those people. If you are a product manufacturer, your best friend might be a freight forwarder. If you are a service provider, your best friend might be a banker. There's so many different tools out there and so many different people who are willing to help you. All the modules and all the FITT certified and the FITT certification covers all of those. So talking, I don't know how we have time here, we're good. Talking about suitability, we talk about the product adaptation, of course, but we also talked about two types of compliance. Regulatory compliance. So is whatever we're exporting safe? Does it fall under the regulatory regime in the country that we're exporting to? And this protects consumers, it protects us from food, beverages, livestock, feed, any of that. Consumer electronics, all those kind of regulatory. And FITT, of course, always goes a step further. So we also talk about voluntary requirements, which is what will the customer buy? So one thing is regulatory, and the voluntary is how do you actually get it into the store? How do you get it into the Sobeys across the country? We talk also about intellectual property. Really, really good chapter on this. I'm talking about the different types of protection you can get on IP. And IP, most countries now are signatories to WIPO, the World Intellectual Property Organization. But for you, what does it mean for you day to day? What do you have to do to trademark your product? Or we talk very much about that in the FITT material, and this is how we actually got a trademark in my company. We followed all of that. Product liability, the legislation, the risk, the mitigation strategies for global markets are key to being profitable in the end, right? And if we're not profitable, there is no reason for us to do this, at least in the long run. Again, some born to export, or some are exporting and say it's gonna take years to get in here and establish a market share. So whatever is right for you, this is giving you the tool to measure it. Adaptation, we emphasize it on this slide in particular because so many people think that if they have something and it's awesome, that they don't have to do something to it to have other people think it's awesome too. And it may be simple things. It may be things that we sell in big bulk, gluten-free flour that we sell, cassava flour, we sell big bulk versions of big bags because we send it to institutions, institutional use. But if you're selling that in London or Japan to households, they don't have places to put that, right? So you might have to package it in little things. Services like mine has to be adapted when it's delivered somewhere else. It may be another language. It might be the breaks we have. We might have to hear to prayers in country, like all those things. Adaptation is important. And if you understand the market, if you understand the market research and the cultural differences, you will be successful in your adaptation. And then the most, other than probably the talk about civil unrest in the world today, probably global supply chain and supply chain issues is what we're hearing the most about right now. We're hearing about stoppage at borders. We're talking about freight hindrance. We're talking about all of this, but when we're talking about the global supply chain and the logistics supply chain, which is within the global supply chain, we're talking about how do we go from actually having the idea of this global foam ball and to it reaches the customer, right? Maybe I want to put this with each of the certificates you get when you get to CITP. I'm looking because mine is on the wall. Maybe you get a global ball. So how do I tie those things together? How does that end up at the customer? We'll talk about inbound logistics, the manufacturing, all that, however you get prepared. We talk about operations, we talk about the outbound part, and we talk about the sales and marketing part as important. And of course, in the end of the day, how is that coming back to you as a profitable venture? With that, what are we for time here? With that, we have to talk just a little bit about Incoterms because they are so important in the world today. I'm not going to go through a lot. There are 2 hyperlinks on here. There are very, very good ways of saying when does the risk for any mode of transport shift. And this is really what FITT does for us. They put things in a context where it's easy. If I am the buyer or I am the seller, and at what point do I have little risk or at what point do I have the most risk, it interprets to me what the right thing is. And for most exporters in the world today, we say, anything you do, quote X works. That's always a good starting point. It means whoever buys it picks it up, not themselves, but their freight forwarder, at your place, and that's your start place of negotiation. This is one of the biggest areas to protect yourself if you're a product manufacturer. Have the right Incoterms and have them as part of your quotation, not after the deal is done. It's part of your quotation. When we're talking that heavy context and focus on service exporters, we on product exporters, we also talk about service exporters. And 2 out of 3 jobs, I think today, are created in services. And right as the situation is today, I read a statistic saying that services employs approximately 3 out of 4 Canadians. So services are growing, right, exponentially. And we are seeing more accessible data in services. And this is, of course, important when you do your business planning and you research destination markets, who's your competition, who else is selling services. And it's been harder before to get these trade flows on services, but we are seeing access to those now. And the services chapter on this in the other services model in FITT is fantastic. We have people, we even have trade policy advisors who are sitting on these courses saying, wow, I didn't know you can get statistics on this. So we're happy to share those kind of nuggets. When we talk about all of this, we have to talk about laws. We have to talk about code of ethics and laws. And those are kind of 2 different things, but they're also the same. So the code of ethics, it's important. It's weaved into the DNA of the CITP designation. You sign on to this code of ethics. It's how we conduct ourselves and our businesses and our employees, and how our better business practices get shaped, and that we won't compromise quality or profits to ethics. But it's also often a way of saying, of validating if your risk of if your ethics are the same as the destination countries. There are countries that do not necessarily want to have a female facilitator. There are countries that don't want to have men and women in the same room during a course. And those are culture and ethics. Mine are not right, and theirs are not necessarily right. We make individual determinations on what we will. I'm happy to contract other people to deliver in a country where I may not fall within the norms, but there may also be places where I don't want to. So those are ethics. You have to follow the part where legal and ethic cross and become one is when you are looking at things like bribery to get a job, some of those. So law and ethics are connected, but ethics in the cultural sense is a little bit different than just law, which you will see in doing one of those modules too. The legal part of it goes more towards the compliance part, the contract part. How do you write when you do a contract with a customer? How do you get out of it? Is there an exit clause? there should be an extra clause if this is a long-term agreement, right? So you know what happens if one day you decide that you don't want to work together, or you can't get along anymore, or it could be a merger, an acquisition. It could be many things. Also just be a simple contract. It can be IP, it says here, intellectual property. It can be dispute resolutions. At what point does it go to litigation, and is there an arbitration in between? And how does that happen? It's what country are governing the laws of your contracts, and very often in international trade, you don't choose yours or mine. We choose a third party. London, New York, some of those are often one of the ones. We already talked about ethics, and then of course we talk a little bit about free trade agreement, because we are increasingly seeing free trade agreements being encompassive. They cover everything from trade barrier elimination to labor mobility. Labor mobility meaning, when can I go and install something in the country? How long can I be there before I'm getting taxed or before I'm being treated as a resident? But trade agreements can also facilitate access to procurement. It facilitates a lot of opportunity to us. It may be foreign direct investment, it guides. So those are part of the whole legal aspect of international trade too. Almost there. First and foremost, the part about international trade that enables us to sell out there is that there's somebody ready and willing to pay for what we're offering. And as an exporter, and very often as a small exporter, and in my experience as a female exporter, you are attached to what you make. You are attached to what you deliver. So you are not always objective. Let me say, I am not always objective. I think ours is great. I think FITT is the best in the world. I think our thing is so well done. So you're not always the best. And if you're not the best, which very few are, and there's very few monopolies left in this world, then you have to look at your competition. And researching your competition is probably the least we do, right? It's probably the least we see out there. People will research lots of things, but very little on competition. And we already said, if you're exporting, you increase your competitiveness. If you do all your research right, and you know what people are willing to pay, you know what people want of your product or your service, you know what people are willing to pay for it, you are 80% of the way. But the last 20% is knowing, what do the others offer? If you don't know what the others offer, it will be hard for you to move on that continuum of competitiveness. So just a couple of things here for you to consider in the competitiveness. It is now 12:44 in Nova Scotia. It is 11:44 in Ottawa, and it is 5:44 in Europe. It's like lots of time zones. This is the end of the presentation as I have it. There's a lot of stars here. I'd say it's because there's not room for 10, that there's not 10 stars, or maybe the scale was less. But in my world, the FITT has enabled me to grow my business to a global one. It has enabled me to enable others to grow their business. And I would be amiss if I didn't say right now, and I'm not a salesperson for FITT, I don't get percentages or anything. There is a 2-for-1 right now, where you will get, I think it's only till tomorrow. So each of these modules are offered individually online, in online training. And if there's a special deal for you here, participants in this webinar, so whether you want to do it with OWIT, or you want to do it on your own, however you want to do it, there is one offering for FITT out there now too, so it would be remiss not to say that. It is the best money I spent on training, and those courses in France were not cheap, I tell you that. So that's it. It is 12:45, and I get it done. Back to you, Kuya and Kellen.
Hi, everyone. It's Natalie Bradbury here. I should be able to use my webinar. There we go. All right, great. It's so great to be here. And Pernille, it was so great to hear your presentation. It was wonderful. And it just brings back many memories of working in trade and speaking other languages and the importance of cultural adaptation and also the engaging aspect, you know. I mean, for I'm a bit of an introvert, but I guess I'm also an extrovert and social butterfly. So I know that people who work in this kind of thing really enjoy meeting other people and selling to other people, but it's also a way of knowing these other people and giving them things that you think that they'd benefit from, right? So and that's also why I joined OWIT after working in the Trade Commissioner Service for the Canadian Foreign Service. And it's, as Pernille said, it's so useful and it's so good to be part of the membership organization where you can engage with other people. And I'm so glad to see so many of my OWIT friends and members on the call. And that's just wonderful. And it's so nice. So I'd like to bring back Caroline, Hulya, and Pernille. If you'd like to have a quick chat as we gather the questions that we've got here. We've got a few minutes, I think. Hulya, are you still on the call? I presume you are.
Yes, I am. I'm here.
Perfect. Wonderful. And Caroline, you too?
I am here, yes.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah, and Pernille is still here too. Any little comments you'd like to make before I start asking the question, that's allowing you to answer these questions?
You shall go ahead. If you have any other more questions, let's see in the chat. There is anything else? There's a lot of interest for FITT courses now, as we can see.
Yeah.
So that's great to see.
Yeah, exactly. That's really good. All right, so I'll just get back to the questions then. There are. I might take one of the later ones. But yes, about the FITT courses, I think we can leave that to the finals page as you've done, and the 2-for-1 that the 2-for-1 people were asking about. You'll find on the FITT website, and I'm pretty sure the FITT website is written there. Now,
and I think Laura will help in the chat as well, responding to some of those questions about price and 2-for-1, etc.
Perfect.
Yeah, and when we follow up with everybody, we'll be making sure they have access to the links for the 2-for-1 and the 30%. The 2-for-1, I believe, it is over tomorrow.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the questions, I'll leave it up to the three of you, how can I ensure that my business maintains compliance with international trade regulations? So I know this is something that was talked about a bit with Pernille, but I don't know, Caroline or Hulya, would you like to say anything about that?
I leave it to the experts.
I want to leave it to the expert as well, Pernille, but compliance is, a huge issue, and there's a lot of different areas in support. It really depends what product or service you're offering in terms of what regulations you have to follow. Pernille, I don't know if you can. I mean, it's a broad question, so I'm not sure if there's if I can narrow it down a bit.
Yeah, it's a very broad question, and it's hard to do an answer that will be applicable to all, but you can always email us afterwards and we can do an individual one. But basically, the regulation is if you make MIPS, right? Food and beverage, it's something that's for human intake, there's a regulation for that. Mm-hmm. So that's what do you eat? what's the regulatory thing, and you can always look at your home country. I know there's people attending from abroad too, so I'm not just going to use Health Canada as the example, but there's what you actually, your intake, and then there's what is it packaging, right? And how do you get it? And with the European Green Deal being a big deal, or becoming a big deal, recycled materials becoming a big deal, both for food and beverages, but also for regulatory future requirements for what we call the circular economy becoming more green. There's lots of different legislation, but the beauty of it is it's not hard to find. So you can ensure you are compliant if you do your research while you apply your research methodology to find out what the steps are, and little things. These a mouse for a computer. Yeah, there's no health, there's no regulation around that, but there's consumer electronics legislation to prevent this battery from exploding or something, making sure that it's manufactured correctly. So all the steps you have to do your research will ensure your compliance. So it's not hard to find. Some of it be onerous to comply by, but we rarely see that. We see there's a lot of paperwork and getting the process there and getting the documentation for compliance, right? But it's very often a one-time thing with very few adjustments.
Right. That's great. I've got a question from Audrey Ross, from president of OWIT Toronto, and she's
asking, teaching this.
I know Audrey's great. And she works in such a fun field. I mean, she's amazing. Anyway, she does ask you, Pernille, if you have faced a challenge specifically as a woman in your work in international trade. How do you navigate that?
Just a few. Just a few. I have mentors like Caroline and Hulya, who, in the way that they navigate the world today, gives away examples that people like me can live up to. There are things that there's experiences that I would not want to share online because my language would not be appropriate for it. And then there's, and who is laughing, because if it was her and I would probably just say it. But there's countries where I have chosen not to work because of guiding cultural preferences. And I respect that they are like that. I also choose not to work there. My challenges as a woman has been as challenging as my advantages have been. I would say it's a 50-50. A lot of the time it's an advantage too. I get closer to a lot of my customers. I may not talk about hockey slaps out something last night, but we'll connect in another way. I think connecting with people, and even more so after the pandemic, connecting with people is so important. So the cultural differences are still there. Absolutely, Audrey. They are, and you will see them yourselves, right? So.
Right. All right. Here's a question that I think is something that toys in a lot of people's minds in terms of HR, like hiring people and skill sets. What is the most important thing to have in-house versus services that can be contracted out?
Well, I'll take that. I think regardless of the size of your business, if international business is part of your growth plan, your growth journey, then having a CITP on your team is going to be tremendous help. Because these individuals, they've been assessed of having a comprehensive understanding of global trade dynamics. They might not know the answer to everything, but they're going to be able to tell you where to find the answer. And you'll need this to be really efficient in your expansion plans. It will save time, it will save money by having somebody has a broad understanding of all the complexities, the risk elements of doing international trade, and how to take advantage of the opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
So in-house for sure.
Yeah, so it's very complex. There's a lot of details involved in all these trade rules and the cross-cultural understanding, but so many of the things that Pernille touched upon, there's a lot of different areas, and it can take a long time to learn it all. So in some ways, I really agree with Caroline's perspective.
And I think the key is Caroline's comments. The key is you don't have to know it by heart, but you know where to find it. You have the tool to find it. And that's what I found with FITT, right? We outsource payroll, we outsource accounting, we have some in-house, but most of it is, manufacturers will outsource shipping and logistics, maybe if they're not big enough to have a full-time department. Be ready to pay for professional advice. But if you have somebody who knows where to find it, that's more valuable than anything. And they're not afraid of tackling it. And a plug again for membership associations like OWIT. I'm pretty sure that there's not a lot of things that you couldn't find assistance with if you went to the OWIT membership. I don't know if you can just put a question out there and get an answer, but I'm pretty sure that within your membership, the answer would be there. And this is one of the beauties of the FITT between you and FITT, I see.
Yeah, exactly. So an interesting question for young people trying to get started and getting their foot in the door. When you want to work in international trade, I guess they're looking for people to comment on that. Is there any comments that all of you can provide? Because like me, you've all been lucky enough lucky and through work and through the skills you just happen to have from different things. And then you found yourself in it and you've managed to build a whole career out of it. So how would you think of it from a young person's perspective?
But how to get involved in international trade or get a career in
it.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Maybe I'll speak to my experience when I was going back to university as a mature student, but I still consider myself young. I was 20-ish or 20, or early 20s. I wanted to study
2 years ago, just a few.
Yes, yeah. I wanted to study international business specifically, but the only thing I could find was international politics or international development. There was no international business studies back then. Those were the old days, right? And in fact, that's why FITT in Canada was put together back in 1992, is to create some international business training standards. So ultimately, I ended up starting to work with FITT. I took international business, or I took international politics in university. But then as soon as I heard of FITT, I took the FITT skills courses because that's what I wanted to do, international business. I wanted to be meeting with people with different cultures. So it's really to study the area, get your competence and your skills up as a young person. And you can do that in formalized post-secondary educational programs, or you can do that on your own through, FITT skills online courses, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about networking, right? As well. It's about networking. It's about connecting. It's about being curious. It's about jumping on these type of webinars and using the resources as well that we have at the fingertips, because that's very important for any young professional, emerging entrepreneur, to make sure that they have as well mentors, coaches, but also role models, and also themselves to be proactive. Because from nothing comes nothing, right? I mean, as a young emerging professionals, if you want to be successful, you need to take action as well. And I think that's also one of the big things that we need to give away to our entrepreneurial, journey. Taking risks, calculated risks. Yeah, there is risks. Yeah, but there will be always something. But calculated risk, have the knowledge at your fingertips, know about the resources like FITT. That's why we've got the webinar as well. And it's all about being curious and asking around, because I'm sure people know people who knows where to get the information.
Mm-hmm. That's all great. Exactly. All right. So this is an interesting question. This is very fit oriented. Technical barriers to trade, Pernille already talked about, and NBTs. I know TBTs, and I know I used to work with SPSs and TBTs, but I don't know NBTs. So it must be similar. Remain a huge barrier when exporting to the US and other overseas companies. Does FITT handle part of that? Pernille.
Yes, non-tariff barriers is part of the FITT curriculum. Yeah, I know there's too many abbreviations, right? It's like, yeah. Yes, that's part of the FITT curriculum, of course. I think, and not just US, like we look at global markets when we look at all the FITT curriculum. I just want to go back to the previous question though and say, for youth who are on this webinar now, or those who will hear about it, social media is really good too. Like follow the FITT social media, follow the OWIT social media. Don't just do the Instagram and Snapchat only, right? Follow that, because not only do you learn a lot, you may have a lot to contribute to, and people go, oh, this person is really good. This is how we ended up with a guy from Brazil. Like it was like, this guy's smart. Like and he was a CITP graduate, and you will see this in more and more job ads that there's a requirement to be a CITP. So for youth, go out there and be involved in the trade side too. And these are two very astute media sites where you can be involved in trade. And then that will lead you to LinkedIn and the more professional part of social media. Not a bad word about the other things, but.
Yeah. No, I'm mindful of time, Natalie, because we are already passing the top of the hour, right? There are many questions, I believe, Natalie, and thanks for moderation. I think we give a close. We have got some questions in the chat, but I'm sure that FITT Laura will be capturing them, so we get back to them. So thanks so much, Natalie. There is the poll coming up. So we would like you, all the participants, just quickly fill in the poll, please, so that we can see what is the pulse. It's a pulse check. So we give you 1-2 minutes to read it through. We are waiting for the results.
Laura, how we're doing on the poll?
We are doing great. Sorry, I'm watching the biggest challenges, and I'm reading. So we have almost 100% participation in the poll. So I do thank everyone in attendance today for answering these questions. It does help us, both OWIT and FITT, shape future webinars. So thank you very much for answering this poll. I will end the poll now, Hulya, to allow you to continue. Just for everyone's general interest, the biggest challenge is identifying potential customers in a new market.
Yeah.
So very interesting.
Yeah. And I guess the webinar was useful, so I don't even ask that question. So that's 100% we can see, of course, what else? And other than that, we thank you so much for all the participants, really. You have seen already there is a special deal for any participant of today, 30% off. Apparently 241 is also ending tomorrow. So if you're quick to sign up, you will get that wonderful deal, right? So it's absolutely amazing and useful, because what happens? Trade is global, trade is international, trade is available, export is possible. It has got both sides, challenging and easy. However, the most important thing is what? To know where to get the information from. Other than that, you will learn step by step. And that's where FITT comes in, being your companion towards this trade journey, likewise OWIT with our vast membership base that we have where you can find any knowledge. So equip yourself with resources, with networks, with powerful intentional networks and intentional, Pernille, social media, because it helps. Other than that, I've got nothing else to say. I thank so much for Caroline and Pernille and Natalie for pulling this together, and Laura, who's behind the scenes doing all the technical work. So it was great talking to you. We hope it was beautiful and useful, and for a next webinar to come. So thank you so much. Wherever you are in the world, good day, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, maybe even. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.